explain that as an academic, I have 3 distinct roles: a principal lecturer, a researcher, and director of external affairs, which includes the industrial placement year. And it's within this industrial placement year that I decided to concentrate my current research activities. The placement element is a mandatory requirement of our 3-degree programs. International fashion marketing, fashion design and technology, and clothing design and technology. The Department of Clothing Design and Technology is a centre of excellence and does have a very successful, tried and tested support system for students preparing for and undertaking the industrial placement year. This placement period, incidentally, received a special mention by the chair of the Higher Education Funding Council Quality Audit. I want to look at the process in detail, as we always strive to improve our students' experience. My original research proposal had the intention of developing a method of assessing the placement experience itself. However, through the initial process of investigation, data collection, reflexivity, and particularly via the group discussions, I changed my way of thinking and my focus. Preliminary research findings indicated that the pre-placement period causes a degree of tension for the students. By this I mean during the second year of the course, when students are studying towards their degree, and all the various assignments, study visits, lectures implicit in this pursuit, and in parallel, they're also applying for sponsorship from companies willing to offer them a 12-month placement experience during the third year. Students' academic ability and employability are of equal importance in the higher education agenda. However, the knowledge, skills and competencies developed by students during the university life may not on their own be sufficient preparation for the world of work. Most students gain temporary employment and holiday employment in a wide range of jobs. All these aid the development and the transferable skills and are a good foundation for any future employer. But the experience in itself, casual experience in itself, is not necessarily the same as industrial experience, because this type of employment, as I say, is normally more casual and has a casual ethos. I know I'm generalising a bit, but in order to study and to start my research, I do have to generalise. My theory was that if I can help to diminish the tensions for the students, it may have a positive impact on their university work and ease the transition into industry. For the students, the process of preparation includes research into various and specific companies. It includes research into the industry as a whole, preparing presentations, CV, letters of application, and attending interviews. It may sound straightforward in theory as a system, but in reality we have to build in competition from the peers, competition from students of their own university, competition from students of other universities, time lapses, submission deadlines, and worst of all, rejection. Sometimes in the pre-placement period, when students are going into industry and being interviewed for placement jobs, it may be the first time in their lives they've ever had a rejection, the first time anyone has ever said, no, we don't want you. And that's really, really difficult for them. In doing all of this, though, the student develops a deeper understanding of the myriad of opportunities that are available, and where the opportunities do and do not fit their individual aspirations. However, it's only after detailing and carefully monitoring all of this that I could endeavour to analyse the impact that this whole experience has on individual people. I recognise that this period proves to be very difficult for each cohort of students each year. Originally, I thought this was because it's a time of uncertainty, of not knowing where and when they would be placed, and worrying in case they would not be able to cope with a new life in the workplace. Then I had a chance conversation with a factory in a factory in Sri Lanka. I was talking to the production manager, who spoke about the failure of a joint manufacturing venture that he was involved in. And it was brought about by the inability of two management teams in two countries being unable to discard their old business cultures and work together to devise a new common culture. This turned a light on for me, and I began to see a different perspective. Perhaps some of the tensions felt by my students are because they are currently asked to continually mix two cultures. The university culture, which is not unlike the familiar school culture, and is reasonably comfortable, is flexible, and less demanding. The culture of the fashion industry, by its very nature, is highly demanding, dynamic, less flexible, and less forgiving. This culture is totally new to students, even those who have part-time employment, as they do not have any experience on which to draw, unlike education. It also explains my personal concerns. As I am the... It also explains my personal concerns, as I am the agent who is perceived to impose this new culture, and sometimes being perceived to be the cause of tension. The whole environment is very complex. We've got the fashion industry, Manchester Metropolitan University, the Department of Clothing Design and Technology, me as the placement tutor, and the student. So with the onion effect, the student is surrounded by all those different complex environments, each influenced by its own mix of micro and macro environmental factors, cultural, behavioural differences, different expectations and conflicts. Recognising the tensions in cultures, which may arise between the diverse cultures, became my new focus. The pre-placement period in 2-year degree, in year 2 of the degree course is demanding enough. Coping with two different worlds can be frustrating, confusing, and very worrying. Aside from the academic pressures, the students working in industry also have to very quickly develop new skills, so-called soft skills. I don't think they're soft at all. Communication, decision-making, commercial awareness, business practice, planning and organisation, managing change, developing of self and others, and tenacity. So, some of the things the students have to do. Communication. Communication, as you know, in industry is very complex. One has to learn to communicate at different levels using appropriate techniques, jargon, and language. Recognising that much of the time you may be communicating with highly skilled people, but with whom English is a second language. Academic speak is therefore very inappropriate. So students have to sometimes unwind their language and move from academic speak, where they're asked to talk in long words and complicated sentences, and rethink to be able to explain things very clearly and very succinctly in simple language. Students have to have a professional confidence, the technical knowledge and the financial knowledge, and be able to choose appropriate techniques to present ideas to buyers, selectors, vendors, some of you may say. Time management. A deadline is an absolute deadline. Not always the case in university life, but in industry, deadlines are very important, and there's a profound knock-on effect of missing deadlines. Students during a very short period of time may have to attend 5 or even 6 or 7 interviews. Each interview has using different techniques. I think that was confusing to any of us, particularly to young people who are not experienced. Tenacity, tempered by flexible aspirations, and commercial awareness, a passion for the industry. And it's a bit of a naff word, but that's what is needed. It is total motivation, total commitment, total passion for the industry. And perhaps that commercial awareness is arguably the most important factor of all. Business practice, theory is not the same as practice. And to help counteract this, we do offer our students a module in international culture. The placement experience develops this entire range of skills. But in the chicken and egg world, the students need to have developed the skills before they can get a placement. Now a twist. The outcome of these tensions is actually tremendously beneficial. And once that bridge has been crossed, the students actually settle into the workplace and readily accept the challenges that are provided. The bridge, however, is a 3 to 6 month period, which on the scale of things is a comparatively short time, but for the individual, it can be somewhat torturous. However, I must emphasise that they do survive and they do adapt very quickly. The whole process demonstrates just how complex the learning situation is, and how sometimes we as educators take for granted the adaptability and the tenacity of our young people. The bridging period is a steep learning curve. Nevertheless, it's part of the whole placement experience. In addition to the academic syllabus, as I've already said, the students are going through the transformation of self, and during a relatively short period of time, are learning to adapt to the world of industry. Therefore, the tensions in themselves are part of the process, and it may be detrimental to try to remove all the problematic areas, even if it were possible. There is no doubt that the placement opportunity is the ideal springboard for each student to realise their full potential. In addition, it enables them to discover first-hand the complexities of the supply chain. It also adds significant value to the final year of their studies. From the industry point of view, the participating companies benefit from a fresh, bright mind and from the real and valuable input the students can give into their business. Many companies offer placement students a job on graduation, thus capitalising on their investment. Make no mistake about it, students on placement, after the initial settling in period, find they are capable of a substantial responsibility and can make a genuine contribution to the company. I'll give you some examples later on. At this point, I must emphasise the unique position that the placement student has within a company. They are privileged to have been accepted and sponsored. This in itself reflects the regard and the value which industry places on this element of education. Secondly, although the placement student has a real job to do and is subject to the same contract and working conditions of other employees in the company, they are special in that they normally have easy access to the various parts of the business and to senior management, who in turn recognise that they must allow the student to reach their full potential and in doing so contribute to the fashion industry. The company, in return, receives not only the talent and innovation, ideas of young undergraduates, but also the support of a large university department with expertise in most aspects of the clothing industry. The whole placement process, from the pre-placement preparation through to the post-placement debriefing, and indeed the graduate first job statistics, need to be wholly understood and wholly monitored in order to sustain the success and be in the forefront of changing needs of industry. This is to ensure that each student is adequately prepared, supported and placed in a business that makes the needs and aspirations of the student and of the company. The bottom line, though, is that it works. The student and the company both benefit. The proof is evident from the increasing number of excellent sponsorships provided by the industry and also the graduate destination statistics. The tension that I was concerned about is actually not tension, it's growing pains. It doesn't have any lasting detrimental implications and is part of the student's development from university into employability. And just to conclude, we'll just give you some examples of where our current students are working within the industry. They're buying, they're designing, product development, patent technology, garment technology, merchandising, production, fabric development. And as you can see there in the UK, but also spread around the world. Thank you.
Any question, please? You can speak out loud.
John Pearson from the University of Huddersfield in the UK. We also place great emphasis on the industrial placement. Angela, given the state of the fashion industry, clothing industry, the textile industry, do you manage to place all your students? And if not, how do you give those that aren't placed some sort of equality of experience with those that are placed?
I don't have a problem in finding companies that will sponsor students. We've been doing it for a long time. We've built up relationships with many companies worldwide. Our students have a good track record. My difficulty is not particularly in finding companies that will sponsor students. It's an ongoing process. It's something I'm working on all the time. But I can pick and choose. I'm in a very privileged position to be able to pick and choose the companies I'll work with and the companies I won't work with. The whole thing is actually turned on its head. The difficulty is in matching students' aspirations. Students, quite rightly, if it wasn't in this job I would applaud, but quite rightly, they're very definite in their ideas and their aspirations. They're very clear about the companies they want to work for and the companies they don't want to work with. They're very clear about the location they want to go to and the salary that they expect while they're working on placement. So if I have any difficulties, it's in actually managing the student process and in making sure that we can meet student aspirations, which each year become quite more and more demanding.
So, do you select the company for the students? If students that I want to work in product development in Sri Lanka, do you find a company for them? Or to what extent do they have to operate for themselves?
We find the companies, I find the companies, and I will advertise those companies to the students. But then I select the CVs and I will send to the company for selection, because I have to get to know the students quite well. On the face of it, their CVs look pretty similar, but it's the people skills, it's matching companies to students and students to companies, and that's where my advice comes in. If I'm selecting students for overseas, it's a little more complex, because I know the students can do the job, and that's not the big issue. The issue is whether they can cope with a completely new life, a new culture, new climate, and the different pressures that are put on someone if they're working overseas.
Okay, thanks.